So today we're going to be talking about APIs and Ajax. Exciting stuff. So the way that this lesson is going to go is we're kind of just going to talk at a high level, like what APIs are, what Ajax is, and how like they relate to each other and why they're important. And then for most, probably like majority of the class, 66% or so of the class, we're going to do like bouncing between I do's and you do's, right? So we're just going to practice like connecting to an external API, doing get requests, post requests, kind of all the same similar things you did in Rails. But this time we're going to do it on the client side. So on that note, what is an API? Can anyone tell me? Yeah.
Application programming interface.
Yeah. What does that mean?
It means it allows two applications to communicate with each other, kind of transfer data back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So at a high level, like technically API, so people think of API as just like the data, right? Technically API stands for like the general like web development, like any sort of software development kind of thing. But sort of the general practice now is it stands for like that data that you're actually using, right? So everyone talks about like using an API. So it's really like people think of it as like that URL that you can link to that provides you some sort of data that you can use on your applications, right? So in this case, like, why do we care? Why do we want to use an API? Yeah, Christine.
If you need to generate a large amount of data, so I know for our projects, you of us, I'm sure, spent a lot of time creating dummy data.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like wanted to do something with books rather than like manually typing in all the books, you can just link to Google Books API, and it has this huge library at your disposal.
Yeah, absolutely. Did anyone else have another thought? Yeah, what's that? Yeah, totally, exactly right. Yeah, sometimes we want to talk to another application. Yeah, those are both exactly right, and that's kind of one of the big things. Like, why recreate data when it's already out there, right? Or like, why not make an easier way for us to sort of connect two applications like that? That's exactly right. And so, like, why now? Why are we learning this at this point? So you guys just finished Rails, right? Congrats, finished your projects. They're all awesome. So, like, why are we learning APIs now? So over the next week, you guys are going to be getting into Angular, which is like a front-end framework, right? So it's all client-side stuff. It's seeing things change on the page without like a full page refresh. So if you guys remember, like as you're going through like your projects in Rails, right? Every time you submitted like a post request or a put request, the page had to refresh, right? There's a full page refresh, or you redirect it to another page, anything like that, right? And so now we're going to get into, for the next week or so, actually for the next few weeks, we're going to get into doing that without having to cause like full page refreshes, right? So the idea is you're basically targeting a specific spot on your page and rendering sort of that section of the browser instead of refreshing the entire page. And so today we're going to be learning Ajax, which is sort of that client-side way of doing it. So when you guys were working in Rails, all of your requests are what we call on the server side. So remember like the whole MVC framework, you guys ran through the entire request response process, right? So now we're going to be doing this on the client side. So we're going to be making calls pretty much through JavaScript or in jQuery, which as you guys know is just client side. So it has nothing to do with like Rails necessarily. Any questions on that? Cool. So let's just take a look real quick at what sort of an API or what like API data looks like, right? So I'm just going to pull up Apple and Google here. This is really simply like a very simple API data call, right? Or like this is JSON data as we call it, right? What does it look like to anybody? Does it remind you guys of anything?
It looks like a JavaScript object.
Yes, it does. Exactly. Yeah. Hence JSON. It's JavaScript object notation. Thank you. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, so that's exactly it. It is literally a JavaScript object that we can then parse when we want to like render the data on a page, right? So same thing, Google's exactly the same. So I'm gonna let you guys play around a little bit here. We're just gonna do 5 minutes of a think, pair, share. Just sort of at this, I slacked out the lesson plan. We have this table of just a few different sample URLs, different API sites. If you guys want to just like pair up, sort of look at these, think about like what looks familiar, what doesn't look familiar, what about like even just the actual URLs look familiar to you. So like without even clicking into it, what looks familiar to you? So let's take like 4 minutes or so to pair up, to kind of think about it, talk about it, and then we'll just have a discussion afterwards. So I'm going to go ahead and put 4 minutes up.
So it keeps changing every time you go out. Yeah, it's like you can pull into generators, but like randomly generate a pair. It's like it's for your cat, or something like that. So this is that very.
I clicked that one. I'll start with
It's an analytics platform.
I guess it's just like taking basic URL and then they have all these different takes by creating methods of saying
So,
this URL, this URL, this URL. I kind of built URLs.
That's everything that comes back.
That fit that.
yeah, I see baseball hitting drills, cats, it's called a cat.
This is what happens when you look for anything that's funny.
I know, I did it at halftime.
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah, that's your tracing data. I'll call it out in a second. There's like I don't know about the data. So like the first time I used a guide look like that.
This one I use a gem to build.
Is there like a beautified button you just click it?
No, like there's like a Chrome extension.
Yeah, I think I have an extension.
Yeah.
It gave me this view.
So if you're
For this one,
yeah,
I
if
built
you're
my
actually like
URL
refresh the page, you'll see really
depending on what it
yeah.
has.
Yeah.
So actually people like
So what does that do? What is the JSON?
So the viewfinder makes it look like this.
Oh, it's like
creating a uniform
Yeah.
URL
why?
with species.
I mean, it's great functionality wise, like interface wise.
Whereas
Safari looks so beautiful.
something that builds my
I guess it's also
Not on the same page.
literally.